Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Talking Ted Lasso here on
Yes.
the It's a Wonderful Podcast YouTube channel. Of course, subscribe, ding your notification bell up there. We are in the midst of the off-season in the current Premier League calendar. Of course, transfer news is a buzz, which I think is appropriate for today's couple of episodes, really, given the fact that, it's early season for Richmond at the moment, and they've just made a massive transfer.
Yes.
Zava, the Zlatan ripoff, has made his way into Richmond and is literally running the entire show. And I knew from the last episode, Janine, of Talking Ted Lasso, where Zava was introduced in that in episode 2 of season 3, that he was just a Zlatan mold, pure
Yes.
and simply a Zlatan Ibrahimovic mold. This first episode we have to talk about today, which is episode 3, called 4-5-1, meaning they changed the whole formation of the team to fit Zava, because why wouldn't they do that? He is staggeringly mocking Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
Okay, because I was going to ask you, how accurate is this portrayal to the actual guy?
Phenomenally accurate. I am talking like back tattoos of himself. Although I think Zlatan has a lion on his back, but he refers to himself as a lion. The meditation, the complete selfishness, yet all in for the team
Letting
attitude that
his
he
kids
has.
name themselves when they're turned 7.
I don't even know if Zlatan has kids. I truly don't know. But that entire aura of he will just be on his own doing his own thing, but so into being with the whole team and making the whole thing a big unit, and not making everything about himself while being all about himself. It's a very weird situation for a human being to be like, but everything about him just screams Zlatan, and he really does look like him as well. If you look at a picture of Zlatan Ibrahimovic, look on your phone now, Janine. Look on your phone. In fact, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, because
I'm going to do it now.
I don't know if I can even spell that name.
I will show everybody a very clear picture of Zlatan Ibrahimovic. That is a picture of Zlatan.
Oh my gosh, no, that's the actor.
And his hair is tied back in a bobby ponytail, sort of bobble thing. He literally looks the exact same.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible
the exact
casting.
same and acts it is incredible casting. And
I can only imagine what he thought about that. I mean,
this is what I'm saying. Like, he's either he either must be really, really offended, or probably have no concept of Ted Lasso either. I wouldn't put that past him.
Yeah.
Or really, really loves it. Because he's so obvious. And look at the impact Zava immediately has on the Richmond team. They go flying up the Premier League. Ted himself is getting all these plaudits from the pundits saying, is he manager of the season already? Or, an early contender for manager of the season. Obviously has to beat Nate in that regard, who's doing pretty well with West Ham in his own right.
Yes.
But there's arguments back and forth as to whether Richmond are doing well, or simply it's Zava carrying them, to this great height. But is that not what a star signing and a star striker is for? Kind of is. Can you have an argument against that? But it's a fascinating new dynamic for Richmond entirely, because we've always seen them, the team itself, made up of everybody kind of on the same level. Yeah, okay, Jamie's been the star, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Roy's been the leader, quote unquote. But they're all on the same level. And here you just have somebody coming in who is literally on a totally different
Than
human level
everyone.
to the rest of them.
Yeah, which speaking of Jamie, he struggles with this, seeing all the
Big time.
attention. He realizes that he is not the superstar anymore, to the point where he, asks Roy for help to be the best because he can't handle it. He can't
Yeah.
handle having someone be this superstar over him. So
And
a
I think
little bit,
Roy,
even though Jamie has had a huge arc and change, um, he still has that bit of him that still kind of relishes, that being the kind of, held up, athlete on the team,
yeah,
so
yeah, and I mean, that's believable. You can't have him just become totally soft, can
yeah.
you? That would be a disservice to his character, really. But you do feel like Roy relishes Jamie coming to him and saying, "Please help me."
Yeah.
Even though Roy does help him, gets him up 4 a.m. to start this boot camp training situation that he's planned out for him. He wouldn't do that if he didn't actually care about improving Jamie's
Yeah.
performance
Yeah.
and Jamie's skills and everything like that, which he clearly does. Roy takes his coaching job very seriously,
Yeah.
and I like that.
Yes.
I always thought, at the end of that first season when he had to limp off in his final game to retire, that he'd come back as a coach. It didn't take him long to come back as a
No,
coach,
he
but
tried to be a pundit for only so long before he was just like, "I hate this so
I
much."
I do like how effective and serious he takes his role as a coach to actually
Yeah.
improve his former teammates and occasionally some people he doesn't even particularly like, although he has grown a level of respect for Jamie, obviously, that he never ever had in the past.
Yeah.
Which is great to see. It's bonding for the two of them, and Jamie, obviously, day one of this training situation, he gets a big pounding knock at the door from Roy at 4 a.m., going, "Come on, get up. It's time to go." He thought it was a joke, but by like day 4, Jamie's up before Roy's even there
Yeah, and ready to go with the light on
and
his
ready to
head.
go,
Yeah.
which is, it prompts a little bit of a pleased smile from Roy, doesn't it? So this is nice to see, I think,
Yeah.
because look, Zava can be effortlessly doing what Zava does, sure, which also I'd like to point out included a lovely goal against United at Old Trafford. I'm quite impressed that they properly filmed at Old Trafford and the various
Yes.
stadiums as well.
Yeah.
It's nice to see the elevation in budget, I think, over the course of the few seasons
Yeah, that we're
to
getting to see more gameplay stuff.
more gameplay, more actual stadium use,
Yeah.
real life branding and everything like that. It just immerses that much better. And the
Yeah.
gameplay itself, I think, has improved,
Okay.
when you see it more and more over the course of the seasons as well, because it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's the one thing you always think about sports movies, isn't it? Is how realistic are the
Yeah,
actual
are the
sport?
actors yeah, no, is the are the
So,
actors actually playing yeah, how much are they
yeah,
cutting around these actors to make them look like players?
and I always think it's particularly tough to do with football, not American football, because it's such a continuous game. There's very little stoppage. American football, you have a play that lasts 6 seconds, and then everybody's standing around discussing things and getting back into position and all that. It's a bit
Yeah.
easier to film than something that is literally 22 moving parts constantly.
Yeah.
It's tough. Basketball's quick and dynamic, and you can just have people blast up one end of the court and film,
Yeah,
and then cut, and then goes the other way and cut, and all that kind of stuff. But
but long
I
lengths
always
of
do think
field,
it's
people running and,
yeah,
not running
I do
into
think
each other and look like they know what they're doing. Yeah, it's a lot to kind
yeah,
of
I do think
choreograph.
it's difficult to film, and I've noticed them doing much better with it in this season 3 already, particularly obviously in this third episode of the season, which you kind of get probably the most football in the space of one episode that I think we've probably ever got. Most of it's Zava doing slightly ridiculous things on the pitch,
Yes.
and causing them to, keep on winning. But
Well, yeah,
it's
I
nice.
mean, even the build up to his kind of first uh day with the team, nobody can
Yes, the
find
announcement.
him, everybody's looking for him, he's holding up kind of the whole thing, and then they find him just sat at Rebecca's desk, and they're just like, they don't know what to do. And Rebecca's the only one who is kind of being real with him and, like,
Yeah.
not, fawning all over him where everyone else is, and so I like her kind of holding strong and not kind of falling for his nonsense when everyone else is just like, "Oh, wow, he's just so amazing." So I like her kind of holding on to the attitude that got him on the team in the first
Oh,
place.
definitely. I think she has to do that, and she has to keep doing that, not only in Zava's presence, but in everybody's presence, because
Yeah.
any sort of, I think this is the tough thing with Rebecca, and we do see it in this episode as well. She goes to visit this kind of bizarre psychic woman.
Yeah, we've heard her mom talk about all the time, and her mom constantly trying to get her to go see this person. Finally, she's open to it and going to see her. So, yeah, I like kind of getting this little insight in Rebecca and kind of how jaded she is about a lot of things.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
and
tough because she can't let herself
no,
soften.
no, she's making jokes, she's not taking anything seriously. And then when the woman kind of starts saying things to her, uh, you know, um, she talks to her about a green matchbook and talks
Yeah,
about her, having a family. And that's such a hard spot for her because she feels like that's part of the reason Rupert left her because she couldn't
yeah.
have children. So that just kind of sets her off, and she says something like "shite in nining armor" or something like that,
Mm,
and she's like thinks she's crazy and making no sense. So when she kind of brings up the thing with the family, Rebecca gets pissed and storms
yeah.
out. But then she finds
I
herself
think
kind of
this is the thing, though, isn't it? I mean, the one person we never saw talk to Dr. Sharon, who
yeah, it's
probably really
true, that
needed
probably
to,
could've.
was Rebecca.
Yes. Yeah.
And we don't think about it, I think, until we are hitting the head with it, that she's still holding an
Yeah,
awful lot
well,
in, under the guise of having to be a tough leader.
yes, and I mean, even you get that when she's talking to Ted because, Ted has some hard news come to him where he learns that
Yes.
his ex-wife is now in a relationship with their former marriage counselor, their former marriage
Absolutely
therapist.
horrific thing to do.
Yes. And the fact that she was kinda keeping it from him because, we saw a little bit
Yeah.
of, like, her having a late night and, like, her not wanting to say, like, why to him, so he kind of had an inkling she was maybe seeing somebody. So for him to find out that this is the man who was supposed to be helping them get back on track with their marriage is very difficult for him. So Sassy's in town, he ends up having kind of hooking up with Sassy, and he's just found kind of this out.
Like every time.
Yes. And so he decides, what if we go on a proper date? And she's like, yeah, no, Ted, like, I love what we have, but, you're a mess. And so he's kind of like thinking about that. So then he asks Rebecca, he pitches it to the Diamond Dogs first, but just in kind of
Yes.
in terms of us talking about Rebecca. Um, he asks her, "Am I a mess?" And she says, "Yes, that's why we get along so well."
Mm,
Signifying that she's just as messed up as he is. So the fact that, yeah, she hasn't really delved into that and we see her being so strong. We've seen her break a few times as well, because even,
we have.
um, in the next episode with West Ham, and she gets very kind of aggressive in how much
Yeah.
she needs Ted to win this game. So yeah, she's got a lot going on, but I think it's easy for us to forget that because of how kind of resilient and strong we've seen her be. So to see her kind of break in this way and show this pain really reminds us that, she is just as, struggling as much as anybody else. So,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know,
you need it. We need it. It's important to remind us of that because I think we had forgotten about it.
Yeah.
We had just seen Rebecca there as, oh, she's fine now, solid, backs the team,
Yeah.
happy.
She gets
Uh,
Zava, she gives this,
she's not.
very enlightening speech to get Zava. She's confident she's back on track. She's not letting Rupert get to her, all of these things. And then we see her kind of break when the idea of a family is brought up as, she sees it as a cruel joke or like the psychic is mocking her in a way. And then she's
Yeah.
at this party after they've kind of won and um Sam is just kind of opening up his restaurant, so he opens it up to the whole team and everybody, and everyone's hanging out, and his new chef, who he seems to have kind of a flirty thing with, which is also a
Yeah.
really great scene that I loved, with her and Keeley sat drinking shots, and then they just kind of pan around the room looking at all their kind of failed relationships. Like Keeley's looking at Roy longingly, and then she kind of looks over at her friend who works for her, kind of flirting with Jamie, and she feels some type of way about it. And then
Yeah.
Rebecca, she's looking at um Sam and she's feeling some type of way about it. So I like how they kind of pan around the room at like these failed relationships and kind of look at each other and like, yeah, let's get some more drinks kind of thing. But
I
yeah,
mean,
she's
Keely's friend as well, who randomly kind of pops in to shadow Keely for
yeah,
career purposes, is a bizarre woman who just seems to do strange, slightly
yeah,
obnoxious things every single time she comes onto screen. I don't
yeah.
understand why she's being kept around. It's a weird character, I think.
Yeah, I mean, she had one good idea. She's, somebody who only she was very much like how maybe early Keeley was in terms of just someone who only like hooked up with dated footballers. And so like
Yeah.
she's just divorced a footballer and she's still kind of in that party wild stage. She has one good idea on a shoot that Keeley's doing. And so then she hires her from there. And so while she's kind of had some really good ideas here and there, she's very kind of outspoken. She maybe talks a little too much. She says kind of very rude things to people, and Keeley kind of constantly has to make excuses and rein her in. So that
Yeah.
struggle is there.
She
But
films
yeah,
very intense dating videos with some of the players as well, and then publishes them all on Banter
yes.
to
Well, initially
hook up with a
Keeley
celebrity.
Yes, well, initially, Keely thought that was a good idea, like, just blur out their face and have them say something about themselves or whatever, or say some kind of, like, saucy
Sure,
line.
yes.
Then she sees that on the app, she puts the tag on there, "Join banter" to, hook up with a celebrity, and Keely has to tell her, "No, take that down immediately," and so this is probably not a good look for the friend, and we kind of see that,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe her ideas are not so great after all, but, yeah, and now she's trying to kind of she has her sights set on Jamie. And, in terms of us talking about Jamie's arc, I think that's really interesting because um Keely kind of lays out his arc as this conversation is happening. Um where, her friend asks her about Jamie and she says, "Oh, he only thinks about himself." But he's really come around on that. And he's really cocky, but he's become really kind now. Like and she'll say something negative about how he was and then immediately realize, "No, he's kind of changed."
Yeah.
Um
I mean, he is at this whole big,
yeah.
Sam's restaurant opening night party, whatever it may be. Jamie is miserable, sat on his own in the corner
Yeah.
because he feels not like he's properly part of the team anymore, even though nobody shunned him at all.
No, he's just
But he
feeling
just
he's just
feels that
in
way
the
because
shadow of
Zava.
Zava and everyone just fawning over him, and he is kind of feeling that, so he's really down on himself. But yeah, this whole restaurant scene, you're just kind of panning around the room and seeing different things happen. And yeah, I
Yeah.
love that moment with Rebecca and Keely kind of looking at their past relationships kind of and the failures of them happen in the room. And Sam hands Rebecca a green matchbook. So she's
Yes.
now kind of like, what does this have to do with Sam and what the woman told me? And like,
Mm.
where is this gonna go kind of thing.
We we
But
we we like Rebecca and Sam, but what happens if anything?
yes, and she's watching him kind of flirt with his new chef, so she's kind of like, "Where does this go? What does this mean? Kind of thing. We actually opened this episode on a character we don't really highlight very much, and that was Colin. So we get a kind
Yeah.
of a nice little insight on him. He wakes up, he goes downstairs, and we see him with a guy and, has a
Yeah.
cute little banter and, they kiss, and then we realize, "Okay, Colin is gay, but he's hiding it from the team."
Now
Uh
let's take a moment, please. Sorry to blatantly interrupt
yeah, no,
there,
no, no.
because this is still a massive issue in football.
Really?
Worldwide football. There are I cannot tell you an out gay football player. I cannot
Really?
I cannot tell you one. It's a hidden problem within the game that I think goes all the way down to the very, very bottom because of, locker room, changing room,
Yeah,
banter, talk, whatever it may be. Which Colin clearly, obviously, gets pressurized into that kind of
yeah,
attitude, that kind of style of speaking,
yeah,
in a professional degree. Um, when Zava turns up and everybody's saying, "Oh yeah, I'd fall in love with Zava. I'd get with Zava. Zava's great. I'd turn gay for Zava." And
yeah.
Colin's like, "Fine, yeah, I'll do it. Sure, guys, yeah, I'll do it."
Yeah, and just
No,
gets a
no, I'm not
laugh.
serious. Don't worry, I'm not serious. And he's just
Yes.
getting, a laugh for it.
Yeah, and even his
Colin
partner
may
who
find Zava attractive. This is fine.
yes,
But
exactly, and even his male partner he brings to the restaurant and introduces him as a wingman, and the
yeah,
wingman's telling
and
some
like
story about, helping
the
Colin get
boyfriend's
girls.
clearly
Yeah,
okay with being introduced this way as well. The boyfriend
yeah.
clearly doesn't feel any ill will towards being
No, he goes
introduced in this
along with
way.
the story about helping Colin, get girls, so yeah, it's like kind of this unspoken agreement that, must play into kind of what you talk about in the world of football and this kind
Oh,
of, uh,
it
you
is.
know
It's the UEFA, the governing bodies, the FA, the Premier League itself, whoever can have all these campaigns of rainbow laces and LGBT plus,
yeah, but there's
pride
still this kind
flags
of
and
don't ask,
everything
won't
like that.
tell.
But it is a don't ask, don't tell mentality, and it is
Wow.
still that. I don't think it wouldn't be an issue. It just seems to me to have this. I get the feeling because rugby, there's plenty of like gay rugby players. Now I couldn't
Mhm.
tell you any of their names because I don't follow rugby and I virtually know no rugby players anyway.
Yeah.
But I know full well there is a far more openness in the world of rugby
Okay.
about sexuality of players, which I think is a great thing. And I think as soon as one person did it, it exploded into
Mm,
this. Oh yeah, yeah, and that football's
everyone
never
being more
quite
open.
had that
Wow,
gay one.
moment. Okay.
It's
Well, that's
never
really
quite had that,
sad.
and because there absolutely must be, there
Oh.
just must be somewhere.
Yes.
And that's not saying like there has to be. We must, have this. It's just statistically
Yeah.
virtually impossible for there to not be
At
quite a
least
number of
yeah.
high-ish profile gay football players. There
Yeah.
just has to. It's almost like old Hollywood, right? Let's
Mm,
liken it to something we know. In the no, but none of us are gay. No, look, I have my wife is here. Here is my wife.
yeah.
I'm Charles Lawton. Don't
Yeah.
be silly. The both of you are actually gay. You just married for the sake of it.
Exactly.
And I
Yeah.
feel like that's still the case a little bit with football. Maybe there's not staged marriages or things like that,
No, but yeah, again, just not really talking about it.
but it is very much like the private players, the ones that are particularly private.
Yeah.
You never hear get interviewed. You never see they've not got a massive social media presence. You never hear them being in relationships, and you just think. I mean, it's bad to speculate on people's sexuality. You shouldn't be doing that. You should be allowing them to tell you if they want to tell you, whatever it may be. But you can't help thinking sometimes, because there just kind of has to be.
Yeah.
And it's an issue. I would like the storyline with Colin to continue to the point where, at least in the world of Ted Lasso, we have a somewhat high profile, he's a steady Premier League player, you know,
Yeah.
he's always playing for Richmond, who at the moment are doing pretty well in the Premier League, for
Yeah.
him to have some sort of storyline where he publicly comes out and for it
Yeah.
treated well. I'd
Yeah,
like that
because
to happen, because I think something like that, I don't know if it does in season 3, maybe it will in season 4, I don't know. But I think something like that in such a prominent show could actually be that gateway for the
yeah,
real world to do that.
to open something
And
up. Yeah.
that is beneficial for everybody across all levels of football.
Yeah.
Because some poor 15-year-old gay lad is playing football in some team somewhere and getting, what, quote unquote, picked on for being soft. He's
Yeah.
getting, a bit of horrible teenage jibes, all the
Yeah.
time. Of course he is, because that's what happens.
Oh,
Shouldn't
that's
be what happens,
terrible.
but
Yeah.
that's what happens,
Hmm.
because he can't just come out. He can't just come out. He can't just say, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
what about it?"
Yes.
Because the world of football will treat him poorly, I fear. And that's the issue with football.
Yeah.
And sexuality.
Yes, and we do see Colin, kissing his boyfriend in the alleyway, and Trent Krim sees him.
Mm.
So what is to come of that? How,
Uh, I mean, it would be a massive, massive story, but I think Trent Krim at this point is,
would never, has so much
everybody's good
respect for the
books, isn't
team.
he?
Yeah,
He
yeah.
wouldn't do
Yeah,
that.
so interesting
So,
to have him be the one to witness this. So, yeah,
yes,
so very interesting kind of
yes.
getting some insight on Colin. I appreciated kind of getting to know a lesser, focused on character.
Yes, I mean, there's, it's weird, isn't it? The characters they do decide to kind of focus on. Like, for all the talk we get of Zorro, the goalkeeper,
Yeah.
we've never seen his private life. What's he doing at home? What's uh, McAdoo, the centre back, the captain? What's he
Mhm.
doing at home?
Yeah.
You know, what's Janmat doing at home? Or
Yeah.
is Janmat's an actual player? What's his
Well,
name?
Zorro
Janmat.
is now Van Dam, if you forgot.
No, that's right. Sorry. Yes, of course he is. Because he loves Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah.
But what are they doing at home? I
Yeah.
mean, we've got a bit of Danny Rojas storylines every now and again, but what's Danny's home life?
Yeah, I mean, we
I'd
saw him
like
in
to
bed
see
with
more
2
of this.
girls. I think that's about
Sure, okay, but
right.
I would like to see more of this.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's a good storyline to have in there, though. I really
Yes.
do.
So, yeah, definitely, good for you to see where that goes, as we kind of continue this last available season of Ted Lasso. But,
Yes.
yeah, next episode is a big build up kinda
Oh, it is. Let's
situation.
get into it.
Yeah.
Episode 4. Big week. It's a very big week. They're about
Yeah.
to play West Ham. It's all, fight to the death. West Ham are top of the Premier League. What's all that about? That'll never happen. Uh, if there's one thing that's unrealistic about Ted Lasso, it's West Ham being near the top of the Premier League. No, that's a bit of a joke. He's not. He's actually not a bit of a joke, because, like, why would they be up there at all? Only West Ham are a massive
You're
club.
meaning
West Ham
great.
have to be treated. Look, West Ham have to be treated as a massive club by Ted Lasso, because they've agreed to be on Ted Lasso all guns in, haven't they?
Yes. Yeah.
They've agreed. So Ted Lasso, the show, Apple TV itself, has to treat West Ham well.
Yeah.
Can't put them where they usually are in 15th and play in places like that. But
Or make
no,
up
they
a
won
fictional
a
team,
trophy a couple of years ago. Actually, did West Ham? They won a
Okay.
European
Okay.
trophy. They did. They had a good season a couple of seasons ago. I think they finished 7th, which is very, very
Bad.
good for West Ham.
Yeah, it's not bad. Um,
Um,
but yes, very
they're
big
very
build up
good
to this
underneath.
game. Yes. We see him kind of working through strategy, and then we see him also struggling to get to his actual seeing Ted again, because he's
Yes,
feeling these
he's a
weird.
ghost in his own environment, Nate, at the minute.
Yes.
He is a shell sort of person who's going around being the manager of the team, yes, but having virtually no final say on anything.
Yeah.
Apart from how the team plays. And as the manager of a football club, you have much more responsibility than that. You might as well just be coach the players, pick the players. But no, everything should fall under you. It's basically, it's CEO, manager. That's kind of how it works.
Yeah.
And Nate's got no power.
Yeah.
No power outside of the actual tactical footballing side of things. And the manager
Yeah.
has so much more than that.
And he doesn't have anyone really to have honest conversations with, because he
No,
kind of
he's got no
tries.
backroom that I can see.
No,
He's got no,
he tr
assistants
yeah,
or other
he
coaches.
no, he tries to talk to Rupert about the struggle he's feeling in terms of seeing Ted again, and Rupert's just kinda telling him, "Don't talk to him, ice him out, like, you don't care about him, don't give him your attention," and that's not really what Nate was looking to hear. I mean, he's used to the kind of Diamond Dogs community conversation about how you really feel, and when
Yeah,
I think it's starting to
even if it's
settle
bad.
in with him that he is not gonna be able to get that here
No.
with Rupert. I
Oh,
think this is where he kind of realizes that. So, it's really interesting to see the struggle with him this whole episode in terms of how he wants to interact with Ted.
yeah, it's making sure Nate is still not an out and out villain, which I
Mhm.
think is important.
Yeah,
He's a person that's made a very bad, very petulant decision,
yeah,
and that's all he is. He clearly kind of regrets making that decision
yeah.
to a degree. He loves the plaudits he's getting. He loves the
The
success his team
attention,
are having.
yeah,
He loves the attention. He loves all this credit of Nathan Shelley's doing a wonderful job at West Ham, isn't he? A tactical genius. The
yeah,
Wonder Kid is thriving in his new
yeah,
role and all this business. Absolutely loves it. But break all that away, he's not particularly happy
no,
still. And is he ever going to be after having made that decision? This is the interesting thing about him. It'd be far easier to paint him as a pantomime villain now and then just have him be, yeah, I hate Richmond,
yeah.
and giving it all that all the time. But you have Rupert for that, who I do believe has become more and more of a pantomime villain over the show's course, to be
Yes,
honest with you.
yes.
He is literally like dressed in black, looking like Satan these
Yeah,
days.
with a turtleneck and, like, a little goatee and all this whole kinda thing, yeah. But yeah, the conflict with Nate is interesting because even when, like, he's doing an interview because, Richmond does not win, they kind of kick themselves in the foot with a
Oh God,
tactical.
when they play West Ham, oh, it's a
Yes.
terrible show.
Yes, with a, strategic move that didn't quite pay off from Beard and Roy.
No,
Um
let's go aggressive. What does Beard and Roy do, Ginny?
So they earlier had found a video and showed it to Ted, in the locker room showing that Nate was the one who ripped up the Believe sign. So
Yes,
they
now we all
suggested.
knew it was, didn't we? But
Yes, of course. And so their thought is, let's show this to the team. It will motivate them to want to just go for it. And Ted is
which it
like,
does to a
yes, but Ted is
degree.
like, I don't think so. I don't think we should do that. Like, Ted is not really down for the idea. But the first half, they're not doing great. They're really feeling bad. So at the, halfway mark, they decide, okay, let's go for it.
Yeah,
So they decide to show the video. And yeah, they come out all aggressive, all staring down Nate. So you kind of have this glimmer of maybe this could actually
yeah,
work. But no, they're just angry and they're tripping people and fouling
yeah.
everyone and getting
The,
kicked off the field and losing players
this is
left and
the
right.
exact kind of wrong input of aggression. It is
Yeah.
wonderful to go out there on a football pitch be so focused, be hate the other team so much that
Yeah.
all you want to do is just make them look silly.
Yeah.
Completely dominate them and embarrass them. That is the biggest possible win
Yeah.
on a football pitch. This sort of mentality is sad, really, because
Yeah.
they are literally just going out there and punching people and dragging people over and just
Yeah,
hitting
pushing people
and
down and starting
they
fights
get
because 'cause they're
3
just
players
mad.
sent off.
Yeah.
It's a disaster class.
Yes, and Nate just has this smug look on his face as he's watching this happen because it's just, winning for him. But ultimately then when he goes into an interview, um, they're applauding his work and he's taking all that, the accolades, and then they ask him, well, kind of a snub for you to not shake Ted's hand after the game. And then he kind of is
Mm,
like, oh, well, I wouldn't say it was a snub, but I just, got caught up in the moment. And then he kind of
yeah.
tries to
Like,
pivot,
did I
you
not?
know,
Sorry, I didn't mean to not. Sorry.
Yes. So we see him like I think, you know, the Nate that we saw kind of just
Yeah.
having in the team would have leaned into it. But now that he's kind of sitting with this decision and living in this whole kind of thing, now he's trying to kind of backtrack a little bit. And we see him want to go and approach Ted after the game.
Mhm.
But then he stops himself and he gets interrupted by I think Rupert, and then when he goes to talk to him, he's gone. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So I like seeing this kind of conflict because we do need to redeem him somehow because he really,
So
screwed up
to a degree.
any will
To
he
a
had
degree, yes.
with
Uh,
viewers in terms of his character. So,
yeah. I mean, we do get a little interaction between, Ted and Nate, which
yeah, in the elevator.
is awkward-ish,
Y-
isn't it, really? I mean, Ted is just trying to clearly blow everything off and just say, "Hi, Nate, how you doing?"
Yeah, and I love kind of
Let's just crack on with it.
yes, and
Um,
I love that, like, Roy and Beard are kind of like the audience, like, when they see him being nice to when they see him being nice to Nate and, telling him good job in this, and they just glare at him like, "Why are you
yeah.
being nice to him? Like, stop." Like, they are so and they call him out on it as well.
Oh, they
Like,
do,
it's
yeah.
yeah, because I think, Ted poses the question about Sassy, like, "Am I a mess?" And instead of kind of like going with answering that question, they say, "It's weird. Yeah, you're a mess because it's weird that you aren't mad at Nate. Like, why aren't you mad at him? Like, why are you being so nice about all of this? This is weird."
Yeah.
Like, all of them are like that.
But this
Um,
is really because he he is incredibly mad at Nate. Like, he's incredibly mad at his ex-wife.
yeah,
He just doesn't know how to be angry.
yeah.
He doesn't know how to express anger. This is something we have to go to Dr. Sharon about, isn't it, Ted? Yes, it is, and that's
Yes.
fine. But he doesn't actually have that anger. And sometimes anger, okay, sometimes anger is a horrible thing, and we shouldn't be as angry as we are. But
Yeah.
sometimes anger is a very, very useful thing to
Mhm.
express yourself with.
Yeah.
In some circumstances, i.e., you have been betrayed twice by people you were pretty close. One of them, your wife of God knows how many years,
Yeah.
and one of them, a very, very close ally of yours from the first moment you set foot in London, right?
Yeah.
So surely there should be some sort of resentment towards them. There has to be, as a
Yeah.
human being, there has to be. Ted can't process that emotion.
No. Mhm.
So it just all comes back to, oh, everything's fine, everything's fine, everything's fine,
Yeah.
which just, as we see, gets pent up and built up and bottled up to the point of his panic attacks, to the point of these explosions
Yeah.
of
Because
uncontrolled. I'd have to go and lie in the corner, which is not healthy. I mean, it happens. It's an
no.
illness. It needs
Yeah.
treating, and he is going for that. But the way of dealing with it is to actually express yourself as you want to.
Yes, and we do see
He
him have a
can't.
panic attack on the field, which I think was in the previous episode, um, and he's trying to kind of hold it back, um, but it's just kinda there because he's just gotten this news. Because how he found out was also really terrible. He's, calling his son because it's his first, soccer game, um,
Yes.
and he wants to, wish him good luck, and he doesn't have his phone, he left it at home, so he has to call the house, so he calls the house, and then we cut to his ex, and she's with her new guy, and he's like, "You still have a landline phone?" And she's like, "Oh, yeah, it's probably just telemarketers." And he's like, "Oh, well, I'm really good with telemarketers. Can I answer it?" So he answers it and he starts putting on this kind of like fake voice. I think he puts on like a Donald Trump voice.
He
And
does,
Ted,
doesn't he? Which is
y-
unpleasant these days. Would have
yes,
played better 2 years ago
probably, yes.
when season 3
Um,
came out, but
yes.
doesn't so well anymore.
No, it just makes it even worse.
It
And
does.
so then, then he realizes it's Ted and he's like, "Oh, hey, Ted, it's Dr. Jacob." And he's like, "Oh my gosh." So then he realizes, "Oh, okay, yeah, this man is here with my wife and yeah, this is happening."
Mm.
Yeah, so he finds it in a terrible way, and she can't really talk to him about it right now, so then, yeah, it just kinda sits and festers, and we see him he does call Dr. Sharon and talk to her about it, um, and, yeah, he's really struggling, so, by the end, we do hear him actually have an honest, real conversation, with Michelle about it, which I
Yeah,
appreciated
it's
seeing.
a great thing. This is
Yeah.
very, very, very big maturity. To be honest, from both of them, Michelle's there. She listens to him. She, is there for him at that point. She realizes that it was the wrong way of going about it. Like,
Yeah.
okay, you can end up with this man if you want to end up
Y
with this man. That's fine. But
yes.
the thing about it that's the
Yes,
problem.
the way that you didn't tell me and kind of was keeping it a secret and being sneaky about it because, I mean, no matter what this family looks like, I love this family. We're gonna share grandkids, and I want,
Yeah. We're
things to be
stuck
okay with
together
us.
no matter what, aren't we? So we have
Yes.
to be. We have
Yeah.
Henry.
Yeah.
Um, it's a nice bit of genuine, mature, emotional conversation from Ted, and
Yes, he's definitely
it's not
developed some
always his
emotional
best.
maturity. Yeah,
He
for sure.
has, and this is down to Sharon, and well done, Dr. Sharon, for bringing
Yes.
this out of Ted, I think.
Yeah.
This unflappable positive man is able to become British and cynical and negative. No, that's a bit of a joke. But
Right.
also, we need the mix of emotions, don't we? We
Yeah,
can't just
have this
be
one note Ted. We
all
need to see
Ted
him.
all the time.
Yes, so we like him being able to talk about and really clearly state what he's feeling and why it's making him feel that way, because he usually doesn't do that. He kinda keeps it all in, and, like, I like that Sassy was able to kind of clock that immediately and be like, "Yeah, no, an actual date is probably not a good idea." And so it's something that Ted kinda has to really look at, like, "Why would she think I was a mess?" kinda thing. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, I honestly thought the West Ham game would come later on in the
Yeah, like,
season.
be a big kind of finale type thing, but, um,
So I'm a bit thrown off as to what the rest of the season may
it's gonna look
be
like.
focused on, to
Um,
be honest with you.
um, yeah, I mean, uh, well, one last thing I think we didn't really talk about is Rebecca.
Yes,
She catches Rupert kind of having a little flirty moment with his receptionist, and so when he comes to
just that
gloat.
type of guy.
Yes, and so when he comes to gloat and, she kinda sees Bex right after she sees him kinda flirting with the thing and says, "Oh," and has kind of a nice exchange with her because Bex is totally sweet, and they have a baby now, they have a little girl now, so
Yeah,
So,
It's not Rex's fault, is it? But
no. So once, he comes up to her to gloat and kiss her on the cheek, she whispers in his ear, "I saw you with your receptionist. Your daughter deserves better, and so does Bex. Cut it out."
yeah,
And, like, that kind of changes his face immediately. Anything she would have said would have still had him gloating, but when she kinda calls him out in that way and is
yeah,
real with him, it just shuts him up immediately, so I loved that. I loved her kind of clocking him and calling him out in that way, when he's trying to be smug with her, as opposed to her
yeah,
putting on these fake kind airs or trying to, spit some kind of, bar back at him. Her just being brutally honest with him, is what does it. So I loved her kind of calling him out in that way.
yeah. I mean, he needs it, right? But
Yes.
I'm wildly, in several different minds over what may go on for the rest of this season. I don't know. I'd like to think we get more Collins coming out journey if possible.
Yeah.
Storyline.
Yes.
Zava doesn't have much of an impact against West Ham because who does have an impact against West Ham? Although
Yeah,
Zava did score, I think in the
their
first
only
half,
goal, yeah,
he went in 1-1 at half time, I think, and ended up
yeah,
losing like 5-1.
yes,
Um,
all because of their
but
crazy anchor, but,
those
yeah,
silly mentalities. But I am just interested. I want Sam to do well with the restaurant. I want to see Richmond continue to be a solid outfit.
yeah, do you wanna hear
In
more
this
characters'
season.
favorite iteration of Julie Andrews' characters?
I mean, the obvious ones came about, didn't they? Really, I mean, your Mary Poppins,
Yes,
your
Trent
Maria
Krim coming
Bonfrat.
in with a surprise pick, everyone was very
I
impressed with.
mean, he did. To be fair, did Trent? I like how Trent is a de facto diamond dog as well now, just a
Yes,
little bit,
yeah,
just for this season while he writes his book.
yeah,
Who knew after that very early episode that he was the title character of an episode, wasn't he? Very early on, Trent
mhm,
Krim.
yeah.
Um, After that, when everybody thought he was just a smug, horrific journalist, he would become such a likable figure.
Yeah. Yes, I love that. So, yeah, it's still bringing the funny little moments in there, I think, is great.
Oh, it does. It
Yeah.
does. It's still look. It's a moving show, isn't it? It's an
Yeah,
intense show. It's an emotional show, but it is still a comedy. It is
yeah,
still funny, quite a
yeah.
lot. It's just a seriously taken comedy. It's not
Yeah.
ridiculously laugh out loud nonsense.
No, but the characters feel just incredibly silly at moments, which just, peppers in really nice with the kinda harder moments, as well. We didn't quite talk about Keeley and her she's still kind of struggling with her work situation.
She is,
She gets word that Jack, the person who's funded her PR company is coming, and, she has a girl issue in the bathroom, and the woman next to her
mm,
helps her out, only to learn that that happens to be Jack. So Jack watches this horrible game for the team
yeah,
that she's, doing the PR for, be incredibly violent. And then she also sees Keeley's kind of right hand coworker, doing some not so
messing
great
it up.
things as well. So now she's kind of worried about the fate of her PR company with Jack kind of seeing all of this go down. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, which is understandable, but it does come down to a little bit of bad luck, doesn't it? Not the friend. I think the friend can be just gotten rid of, but it does
Yeah.
come down to a little bit of bad luck.
Yeah.
Um, which is a shame for Keeley because
Yeah,
you do
because we
want
love
Keeley to
her.
succeed
Yeah.
as well. Obviously, you do.
Yeah.
She's still getting a slightly prolonged looks from Roy across the room and things like that that she
Yeah.
doesn't notice. But I want to see them back together somehow, and I want to see success for Keeley as well. And I don't
Yeah.
know if both of those things are possible.
Oh,
I
just have
really
to wait and
don't.
see. We are chugging and plugging away on this final available season, as they are probably working
Yes.
on season 4 right now. But yeah, so I'm excited for you to see where it goes. I'm kind of not completely remembering how things go, so
Okay.
it'll be fun to revisit that as well. But yeah.
I mean, there is only 4 episodes of Talking Ted Lasso left, of course.
Yeah.
You know, we do 2 episodes every
A show, yeah.
show. Exciting times as we near
Yeah.
the end of our journey for now, until season 4 comes out, with Ted and Richmond and everybody involved. It's very exciting.
Yes.
I think that is going to do us for today, Janine. How very nice it has been. This show alternates every week on the It's a Wonderful Podcast YouTube channel. Morgan Hasn't Seen TV, of course, is the branch, but we have Discovering Dawson's Creek every other Monday, alternating with Talking Ted Lasso at the moment. What will come after Talking Ted Lasso? We know what will come
We
after
do
Talking
know.
Ted Lasso, but nobody else does. It's very exciting having this secret. What do you think will come after Talking Ted Lasso? What would you like to see? Leave us comments. Leave us fun stuff. We have already chosen, but what do you think it's going to be? Interesting, exciting. It is something I actively do like, although wouldn't call myself a super fan of. I think though that's reserved for a specific group of people. Would, however, call myself very knowledgeable of.
Okay.
Strange
More knowledgeable than me.
It's strange how I would be knowledgeable of it, given that this is Morgan Hasn't Seen TV. But will it be that even next time? Possibly not, indeed. What do you think this show will be? It'll be great. It'll be a lot of fun. I can tell you that. I'm going to love every second of it, I think. But there you go. What else do we have? Subscribe and ding your notification bell on this channel, of course, and leave all your likes and your comments, as I said, down below. Subscribe to the main podcast feed wherever you get your podcasts as well, for the main show celebrating old movies every single Friday, and Morgan Hasn't Seen, the parent show, every Wednesday, obviously, as well. Leave your comments over there, and your ratings and your reviews and that fun stuff. If you want to support us on Patreon or donate, there are links in the description of the video to do that. Social media has also been scrolling down at the bottom of the screen all episode long and is in the description as well. I do think that leaves us only one thing left to do, Janine, and please, in your finest Zava, take us out.
No. I can't do this. 3, 2, 1.
That was the count from Sesame Street, Janine. Bye. I don't even know where Zava's supposed to be from. Where's he from?
I don't know.
Watan's Swedish, so I don't know.